Welcome to Canadian Football League Weekly, presented by the World of Football. Each week, we sit here and we recap the games played up north in the CFL, and we also look ahead to next week's games. Our mission here is to educate American football fans on the teams and players in the CFL in the hopes that you will come to love this league as much as we do. I'm Randy Snow, and I'm joined by my son Adam.
Those of you out there saying that they can't wait for football season to start up, y'all need to get your heads out of your butts. The CFL's been here. We got a bunch of other leagues still in play. So y'all don't know what you're talking about because you guys missed a fantastic weekend of Canadian Football League action. Like, I'm not exaggerating when I say like every game was pretty thrilling.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a dud in the house, Randy.
Well, for Toronto fans, maybe that one was a
Well,
but still,
well,
it was a great week of CFL action. So let's get right into it. Let's look at the scores from Week 5 in the Canadian Football League. On Thursday, it was the Calgary Stampeders over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, 37-16, in the inaugural Stampede Bowl. This game, this came about because the CFL and the Calgary Stampede, the rodeo up there, have finally joined forces, and this was the event that was going to kick off the whole Stampede week. So, in the past, they've avoided doing things at the same time in town. Now they're embracing it, so I think this is great. So they come up with a trophy and everything, and this was a good game, especially if you're a Calgary fan. After a touchdown, an extra point, and a rouge, Calgary took an early 8-0 lead in the game. They also led 29-6 at halftime. A field goal by Winnipeg was the only scoring in the third quarter. Winnipeg scored their only touchdown of the game with under a minute remaining, but it was too little, too late, as the Stampeders won the inaugural Stampede Bowl 37-16. I think they really wanted that trophy since they're hosting it and they're going to be hosting it every year. They wanted that trophy right off the bat, so yeah, they were highly motivated to win this game.
Would not have been a good look if they'd have lost the inaugural Stampede Bowl. Not gonna lie. So they came to play. They looked like they came to play. This looked like a totally different Stampeders team. But Vernon Adams, when he's on, and the dude had a decent game. Going 13 of 18 passes for Calgary there, 222 yards and 2 touchdown passes. Running back Dedrick Mills ran the ball 18 times for 93 yards and a tutty. Wide receiver Jalen Philpott, one of my favorite players in the league, had 2 catches for 75 yards. The Calgary defense returned 2 interceptions for touchdowns in this game. So a little bit of everything this weekend, as we'll talk about some special team stuff later on. But yeah, so the defense coming up big for Calgary there. One of those interceptions was for 30 yards in the first quarter, and then the other one was in the fourth quarter for 70 yards. So a lot of big plays there for Calgary. A heck of a way to kick off the inaugural Stampede Bowl, and I think hopefully a brand new awesome tradition up in the CFL. For the other side of the ball, though, the Calgary Stampeders, Winnipeg quarterback Zach Collaros, great look at stats. If you look at the stat line, 34-48, 288 yards, a touchdown, a couple interceptions, though, kind of put the blemish on that. Running back Brady Oliveira ran 13 times for 61 yards, and wide receiver Kevin Solaris had 10 catches for 78 yards. Kicker Sergio Castillo was 3 for 3 on his field goals on the day. So, knocking Winnipeg down a little bit. I feel like every time I talk about a team I like or a team that's like at the top of the league, hey, this is the best team in the league. Hey, this is one of the top couple teams. They get knocked off. I'm just going to stop saying the teams are the best in the league because something always happens. The CFL's crazy. I know we're only in week 5, but man, oh man, this is what makes the CFL so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, Winnipeg, they were 3-0 going into this game. This was their first loss of the season. And I really thought that they were going to go into Calgary and play better than they did anyways. I mean, in my mind, the Calgary defense was awesome. And the Winnipeg offense just was struggling all game long. And so,
a couple of ugly, those ugly picks really did Collaros in there. I mean, they were, I won't say backbreakers, but man, they did not help, obviously. But he looked a little off. I don't know what it was. I mean, they threw the ball a lot, 48 pass attempts to Vernon Adams' 18 attempts. Like, I guess when your defense plays the way that the Calgary defense did, I mean, your quarterback probably doesn't need to throw more than 20 passes during the game. But good for Calgary. Good for them and kicking off that whole weekend. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next game. On Friday night, it was the Hamilton Tiger Cats over the Toronto Argonauts, 51-38. Woo. Hamilton led 17-7 at the end of the first quarter, and they also led 24-13 at halftime. In the third quarter, Toronto's Janarian Grant returned a kickoff. I don't have the yardage on that, but he returned it
I'll
for a
get it for you.
touchdown. But he returned it for a touchdown to make the score 31-19. Hamilton, and then Toronto trailed 44-32 in the fourth quarter, but Hamilton just kept on scoring, including an 86-yard kickoff return by Hamilton's Isaiah Wooden, uh, and a 51-38 win on the road against their bitter rivals. We had these two teams. They're only like 30 minutes apart down the Queen Elizabeth Way, and they call it the QEW series because they're half hour down the highway from one another on Lake Erie and no, Lake Ontario, I guess it is. But yeah, they really don't like each other. They are rivals. I mean, it's not a nasty rivalry, but it is a rivalry. And boy, I tell you, they just love to get one up on the other team. And this was kind of a blow for the Toronto team, but good on Hamilton.
Yeah, and Janarian Grant, I mean, we'll talk a little bit about that play. I want to say he caught that at the 10-yard line. So what's that make that, like a 90?
That's about 100 yards. If it was at the 10,
95 yard. I want to say probably a 95-yard return for him, because then close to. But I want to say maybe 95 for him, and then it was 86 for Hamilton's Isaiah Wooden. So, because if you go to the CFL's X page, they got both of those plays, in the same video, and it's pretty awesome. There are a lot of great returns this weekend, a lot of fantastic plays in the CFL.
Yeah.
These were two of the big highlights.
Yeah, a lot of great special teams plays in all four of these games this week.
Yeah.
Let's look at some of the stats here. Hamilton quarterback Bo Levi Mitchell was 19 of 24 passing for 332 yards and five touchdowns.
He is having a phenomenal year, by the way. He's looked awesome. If Hamilton can just get everything else put together, Hamilton might be a team to keep an eye out for. Again, don't want to jinx nothing because that seems to be my MO on this show, is I kind of jinx teams. But, I mean, Bo Levi's been doing it up there in Hamilton. I mean, last year he had the 5,000 yards. He's the fastest to 100 wins. So, dude, Bo Levi killing it.
Running back Greg Bell for Hamilton ran the ball 11 times for 48 yards and a touchdown. And wide receiver Kenny Lawler had 6 catches for 207 yards and 3 touchdowns himself. He was a human highlight reel in that game.
He has been that all season long. He has been the guy that, I mean, if Hamilton doesn't win any games, you can guarantee at least, Lawler's going to look fantastic on that squad. And he's been awesome. Every time I feel like I watch a Hamilton game, I catch some sort of Lawler highlight. And have 3 touchdowns in this game. Shoot, this guy might be making some awards pushing performances this year. We'll have to wait and see. I know it's early, but man, I'm loving watching the Mitchell and Lawler connection is very special. I'm digging watching that.
All right, stats for Toronto. Quarterback Nick Arbuckle was 27 of 38 passing for 339 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he did have an interception. Running back Kevin Brown ran the ball 8 times for 22 yards and a touchdown. And wide receiver Kevin Mittal had 8 catches for 104 yards and a touchdown. And wide receiver DeMonte Coxey had 5 catches for 76 yards and a touchdown.
And I like that both these teams wore their home uniforms.
Yes.
I love it. I love it that when a couple teams that have, I think this should happen more often across all sports leagues, or especially football. If your two teams have such diverse color schemes and it's a rivalry like Hamilton, Toronto, why not bust out the home uniforms for both teams? It looks awesome. Yeah. It stands out on the screen and it looks so cool. I can't I hope that they play, and when they play in Hamilton next, they do the same thing. Let Toronto wear the double blue. Hamilton, you wear the blacks, and a great uniform matchup. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, that is. It's like USC and UCLA wearing their home jerseys during their every year. It's just it's so cool to see on the field.
This is the kind of stuff the NFL needs to take note of. Like, you got teams with these iconic, great home uniforms that don't look anything like each other. They got great plethora
Right.
of color schemes up there in the CFL. So there's not a whole
Right.
lot. You could probably go 8 out of the 9 teams could play each other in their home uniforms. Blue Bombers and Argonauts might be a little tougher sell, and even the blue anybody with the Alouettes, those 3 teams there would be hard to probably do a home uniform series, but
Yeah.
everything else would look great.
You wouldn't want to have the Elks and the Riders both wearing green at the same time.
Oh, that's also true. Good
awfully.
point. Yep, green and green. You make a good point. But I mean, the Riders could wear their black uniforms too. They got the. I think they got a black. Do they have a black? I don't think so, but you could do something.
Yeah,
The Elks
Hamilton's
need a yellow uniform. That's what they need.
Yeah, Hamilton's got those gray uniforms they could pull out as a away jersey or something. I don't know.
They could those ugly things. Yeah, I don't care for those ones.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they probably only wear them at home because I think only the home crowd likes those. Anyway,
Maybe.
before we get to the last 2 games, we want to talk about our weekly audio podcast called This Week in the World of Football. This week we're going to be recording episode 401. Last week we did our first live stream with episode 400, and it went better than I expected. Really, I mean, you did a great job picking up the software in like a day and a half, and we had no problems. We had no problems during the stream, and we had some guests on. We had a guest from Canada, a guest from Japan, a guest from Oregon, a guest from Tennessee, and then we had Kyle from just down the road. But we we had people all over, had no problems, so it was really great. You can check that out on our YouTube site or even on Facebook or no, not X because that one didn't work. But
yeah, that one didn't work. But
yeah,
no, go back. Yeah, you can go back and rewatch that. It was a great 2-hour live stream. It was a lot of fun. We answered questions at the end. Did a couple contests. We're going to talk about a contest winner on this show, episode 401, and we're going to probably have to reissue a contest because y'all didn't come through. I didn't think it was going to be that hard of a contest, but we're gonna reissue this contest. I'm determined to have somebody win this.
I kind of thought that was going to be a hard contest when you were telling me about it. I'm like, man, I couldn't do that on my best day.
Well, maybe we'll have to revisit it.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the last 2 games in the CFL. On Saturday, it was the BC Lions over the Montreal Alouettes, 21-20. Montreal led 14-9 at halftime, and they led 17-9 at the end of the third quarter. But in the fourth quarter, BC had the lead 18-17 with under 2 minutes to play. But Montreal kicker Jose Maltos connected on a 24-yard field goal to give the Alouettes a 20-18 lead with 28 seconds left in the game. But as time expired, BC kicker Sean White made a 43-yard field goal for the win. As time expired, like I said, that was a crazy ending to that game. It really was.
Yeah, I mean, love a walk-off winner. At least it wasn't a walk-off rouge, am I right? But no, heck of a way to end the game. I mean, Montreal's another one of those teams that I sung their praises, and here they go. They've dropped 2 straight. Like, I don't want us to hit the panic button. I know our friends over at the Alouettes flight deck aren't hitting the panic button just yet. But I mean, 2 tough losses. I mean, I don't know. I like seeing Nathan Work though come back for the Alouette or for the Alouettes for the BC Lions after going 2 games with an injury. He went 22 of 36 for 352 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, he threw an interception. But he also ran the ball for 43 yards and had a rushing touchdown. So he had a nice day for Nathan Work coming back after a couple weeks. Then you had Justin McInnes, who had 6 catches for 109 yards. And wide receiver Stanley Berryhill had 4 catches for 85 yards and a touchdown. So good for him. For the Montreal Alouettes, McLeod Bethel Thompson filled in again at quarterback. Is this the pattern? Is McLeod starting for the Alouettes, the kryptonite for this team? As he went 15 of 23 for 192 yards, 2 touchdowns. Running back Sean Thomas Erlington ran the ball 11 times for 76 yards and had a receiving touchdown. And wide receiver Tyson Philpott, another dude who I love watching play, 3 catches, 57 yards, and a touchdown. And of course, the big thing, other than the game-winning kick that people are talking about here, Dad, is the brawl after the game, which the TSN did not shy away from keeping an eye on.
Yeah, they stayed right with it. They had a few minutes left of the broadcast, and they stuck right with it. They were zooming in on players to try and see who was trying to beat the heck out of who else, and oh, it was weird. And I haven't seen anything yet on their website or anywhere about any fines or suspensions, punishments, whatever. Have not seen anything about that yet, so we'll probably hear about that in the coming days. But yeah, that was a terrible way to end that game. I mean, sure, yeah, I mean, walk off winner. It's happened before. I don't know what was said by who and what
I'll
caused
tell you what
this.
was said. I bet you what happened was that BC player was talking smack about the Alouettes Flight Deck podcast, and those Alouettes were not having it. That's probably what happened. I can't read lips, but I feel like if I would have zoomed in, that's probably what we would have deciphered there. So I'm gonna stick with that story. We'll see if that comes out or not. But I'm just gonna throw some wild speculation out there.
Well, we'll have to find out what section the flight deck guys are sitting in and see if that was anywhere near where this brawl took place.
Maybe they start. Oh, maybe they said, "Oh boy, did they start it?" I don't want to start nothing, but guys, oof,
Yeah, like you don't want to start nothing.
nah,
All right,
nah, they're good fellas. They're good Canadian kids up there. They wouldn't do that.
all right. Finally, on Sunday, it was the Edmonton Elks over the Ottawa Redblacks, 39-33, in another barn burner of a game. In the second quarter, Edmonton's Javon Leake returned a punt 94 yards for a touchdown and a 22-3 lead. It seems to be a pattern
That was
here.
awesome. That play was awesome. I didn't tweet a whole lot about CFL plays over the weekend, but this one I was sitting down watching this game live, and my God, there was a couple of great plays in this game that I felt compelled to get on X and just that play was awesome. And then you're about to talk about the Red Blacks doing the same thing.
Yeah.
This next play was awesome too.
Yeah. Soon after that, punt return for a touchdown. Um, Ottawa's Khalil Pimpleton, who played his college ball at Central Michigan University, returned a punt 97 yards for a touchdown, back-to-back touchdowns.
It was
Um,
awesome.
yeah, Edmonton led 22-17 at halftime after that, and they also led 32-23 at the end of the third quarter. And then Ottawa scored with 10 seconds left in the game to make the score 39-33 in favor of Edmonton. But the onside kick was no good. It was recovered by Edmonton, and Edmonton held on for the win. Just a great game for Edmonton. They needed this game um, in a bad way because this was their first win of the season. Do you want to say anything before I get into the stats on this one?
I do. I want to because there's some other plays I tweeted about real quick. I just want to find exactly what I said from last night because they were awesome. Leak, you already kind of brought him up. Javon Leak, what a game he had. You know, he had the big punt return early in the game. Then he had one of the most spectacular catches in traffic. There were like two or three red black dudes around him,
Oh yeah,
and he made the catch. It was incredible. That play was so cool.
yeah.
The focus he had to have on that ball was awesome. And we get
The
to talk
the
about how
announcers
Trey
couldn't
Ford
believe
got
it.
to get a win. Yeah, the
Yeah.
announcers were stunned. I was stunned. All of us Americans watching Canadian football should have been stunned. So it was awesome. Heck of a win for the Elks. Finally getting in the win column. You know, is this the start of maybe something getting put together for this team? They looked good, or is Ottawa sliding? I was really high on Ottawa in that first game of the year, even though they lost against Saskatchewan. I was very high on. I was like, this Ottawa team looks like they could compete. They've had to deal with banged up quarterback, and now they again they kind of lose in a game that they maybe could have won, but man, the Elks just came up with a couple more big plays to prevent that. But I mean, it's getting interesting now. There's no winless teams left, and
Right.
I think everything's getting real interesting. Nobody's out of it yet. We're still 5 weeks in, 6 weeks into the season, so let chaos reign, Randy. I am so pumped to see what happens next.
All right, let's look at the stats from this game. For Edmonton, quarterback Trey Ford was 15 of 17 passes for 212 yards and 2 touchdowns. Running back Justin Rankin ran the ball 12 times for 105 yards and a touchdown. I think that really helped the passing game was to having a running back have over 100 yards. He was just a monster. He also had, yeah, get this, Rankin also had 4 catches for 69 yards and a receiving touchdown, too. Yeah, it was the Rankin show in this game. Wide
Rankin, okay,
receiver.
real quick, Rankin, it was incredible. He's a guy that cut it. Well, I won't say cut his teeth, but he was making a name for himself down here in the indoor/arena scene for a while too. We covered that, and our buddy Trey from Off the Wall, going to give him a quick plug. That was like one of his first guests. So this is a name I heard all weekend long, whether listening to some Off the Wall stuff, and then in the CFL. So there are guys across the world of football that are making their name and moving around, and it's awesome to see. This is what it's all about. Like, it's not just about the NFL. It's about so much. And
Right.
good for him. Justin Rankin, just an absolute stud up there in the CFL right now. You love to see it.
Yeah. And finally, for Edmonton, wide receiver Stephen Dunbar had 6 catches for 55 yards. Looking at the Ottawa stats, quarterback Drew Brown was 31 of 43 passing for 316 yards and 2 touchdowns. Wide receiver Eugene Lewis had 8 catches for 75 yards and a touchdown. Kicker Lewis Ward made 4 field goals in the game. And Khalil Pimpleton had 5 punt returns for 120 yards. So,
129.
I think I wrote 129, but I think it was 120.
Oh,
I wrote that down.
Okay, so script error. Blame the script. Got it. Blame the script writer.
I knew what I was talking about.
It's all good.
But no, we love Khalil Pimpleton because he's from Michigan, played at Central Michigan up the road, kind of a rival to the Western Michigan Broncos here in town. But still, we like to see him do good things up in the CFL as long as he's not in Kalamazoo beating us anymore.
There's so many guys up in the CFL doing some good stuff, like we mentioned. Rankin, you mentioned Pimpleton, who we like here. Trey Ford finally getting in the win column, like I said.
Yes.
It's nice to see him get in the win column. He, had a couple of really nice looking passes. He still looks like he's trying to figure this game out. I mean, I applaud the Elks for sticking with him and not just pull him. He's got to work through this if he's going to be the next, because he should be the next great CFL quarterback. He should. I mean, yes, we got Nathan Rourke out there, slinging it around, but Trey Ford should be that next guy. He just hasn't quite gotten there. Hopefully, he can start stacking some wins with the Elks, and hopefully this Elks team. And by the way, I dig that shirt. They can start moving forward, and making some noise here in the CFL.
Yeah. Well, you said that they're sticking with Trey Ford, but there were several times during this game where they were alternating between Cody Fajardo and Trey Ford.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that. I think they should have just left him in there to succeed or fail. I mean, I know Cody Fajardo is a good quarterback, and he's there to back up Trey Ford, but I don't know why they were. Even the announcers were saying, I don't get this. Trey Ford just had a good series, and now you're putting in Cody Fajardo for a series or so. I don't know if it's just to get him used to their system up there or what, but I just think it's kind of weird. More Trey Ford. That's what I say. So again, this was the first win for the Elks this year, and the first win for their new head coach Mark Killam. So congratulations, Elks. That's why I'm wearing your shirt this week. Congratulations on getting your first win of the season. As you said, no more winless teams up there. That's good. You never want to see a team go winless. Detroit Lions 2008. So that's always a good thing. And then on bye this past week was the Saskatchewan Roughriders. All right, let's move on to the standings after week 5. In the East Division, you've got the Montreal Alouettes on top with a 3-2 record. Hamilton is in second place with a 2-2 record, and then Toronto and Ottawa have 1-4 records. And then in the West, your Saskatchewan Roughriders, who are on a bye, are still at 4-0. Good for them. They didn't have to play, so they didn't lose a game. But Calgary is now at 3-1. Winnipeg is at 3-1. BC Lions are at 2-3, and the Edmonton Elks are now 1-3 on the season. All right, taking a quick look at next week's games. Only 3 games going to be played next week, and they're all on CFL Plus. They're not going to show any games on CBS Sportsnet next week, so I'm a little disappointed with that. But hey, I can pull out my laptop. And on Friday night, it's going to be Calgary at Saskatchewan. Saturday, it's going to be Ottawa at Hamilton. Sunday, it's going to be BC at Edmonton. So that means that Montreal, Winnipeg, and Toronto are all on a bye next week. And that's it for me. Anything else you want to talk about before we close this out?
If anybody can teach me how to get the fear of spiders out of a child, I gotta go up and crush a spider here. So we gotta wrap up the recording. Yeah, I'm getting a message.
Okay.
I don't want the house to get burned down because of a spider. So
Okay. All right. Let's make this quick then. All right. That's all for this week. Tune in again next week when Adam and I review all the games up north in the CFL. We'll be here throughout the CFL regular season, as well as the postseason and the 112th Grey Cup game, which will be played in Winnipeg this year on November 16th. Check out highlights of all the games in the CFL each week at cfl.ca/videos. You'll find all the game highlights and individual plays that you can spend all day watching those videos. They're all really good. They do a good job of producing that sort of thing up there. If you need help with picking out a team for this year to follow in the CFL, we can help you out. You might be surprised
yes,
how
we
much
can.
fun this league is if you really watch them week in and week out like we do. If you have any questions about the CFL, you can ask us in the comments of this video. If we don't know the answer, we know some people up in Canada who definitely will. So, um, so remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than Adam and I sitting here in Kalamazoo, Michigan, talking about the CFL. Until next time, I'm Randy Snow.
And I gotta go crush a spider. You've been talking way too long. I don't know where it is now. She lost track of it.
All right. We'll see you all next week somewhere around the 55-yard line.
And hopefully spider free.